Throughout the China sections and for the time being, Annie Dillard uses motifs, allusions, and historical anecdotes to communicate that the past and present aid in highlighting the meaningful moments in life. Learning from these moments in time will help make our existence count. Throughout Annie Dillard's book, she uses historical anecdotes and allusions in order to connect the past to the present and convey the idea of having individuality in the way lives and times are spent while here on earth, however, solidarity when death comes upon us in the way that we end up as part of the earth. In my first quote on page 70, Teilhard's life is beginning to be discussed and how his friends were mostly geologists, paleontologists, priests, explorers, etc. Page 70. The idea of different people coming from all different walks of life and amounting to the same when death arrives, including Emperor Qin, shows how class, rank, and wealth do not matter when death comes. We all end up as part of the earth buried underground. One significant moment within the book was when it talked about the church refusing to accept Teilhard's books except for one. Being that he was a part of a Jesuit church, they have strong beliefs in evolution and the way that God connects to the universe. Teilhard's freely expressed ideas were strongly rejected by the church because the church didn't believe in biological evolution or evolution of man in itself. He was later exiled to China for freely expressing his ideals. This shows that individuality was not valued in ancient times as much as it is today. Dillard includes this in her book as a possible way that religion and other aspects influence the way that we live our lives and express our ideas. Another significant moment was when the idea of spending all your time working is juxtaposed with the insignificance of personal satisfaction or success. On page 105, Master Hongren advised, work, 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 don't waste a moment. Just dress in old clothes, eat simple food, feign ignorance. Hongren, like Emperor Qin and the terracotta soldiers, believed in the importance of hard work and not wasting time on earth. However, it is juxtaposed with Teilhard's idea of personal success or satisfaction not being worth another thought. Page 105. Teilhard's profound words are significant because in the eyes of Emperor Qin and Master Hongren, what is the purpose of hard work if there is no personal satisfaction, and what will we amount to without hard work? Lastly, the symbol within the chapters comes from the quote, 6 ox carts carried supplies and boxes of extinct tertiary horse and rhino bones. These are all allusions to the past and are used to bring context to Teilhard's later arguments about life, death, birth, the universe, and time.
Dillard uses Pierre Teilhard de Chardin to allude to how God and the universe aid in helping humans realize the meaningful moments in time. Through his explorations of the Gobi Desert, Teilhard was able to open up the world to the past. He did this through the discovery of the Peking Man. The Peking Man was not a Homo sapien, but he uncovered the past before us. This 750,000-year-old Homo erectus was able to enlighten the world with his presence, even after his death. Although he may have been unknown in his time, he became known as a moment in our time. He marked our existence before we existed. This Peking Man won all of his glory 100,000 years after his death. Therefore, Dillard uses the Peking Man to connect the people living to the people in the past. Currently, people are underground, lost, and unnoticed like the Peking Man once was, but this can be changed. A change can occur through discovery or by living life in the moment and making a difference in the world. Dillard also utilizes a litochi in this quote. She describes the Gobi Desert as being an area science did not know. She is intensifying the idea to bring more attention to it. The attention is needed for the Gobi Desert because it holds the importance of sand and dust. Sand also plays an important part in China because it is a measure of time. The sand all around us measures our time on earth, and although sand is still, the past and present blow it around us. The sand eventually builds up around our bodies and measures our time on earth. When Teilhard had to fight in the First World War, he did so. Although he was a Jesuit priest, he still fought for his country. He found fighting in the war justifiable because he was aiding God in redemption. This allowed Teilhard to become even more attracted to the war. Teilhard took a negative moment in his time and turned it into a positive. For Teilhard, fighting in this war was a duty, so he embraced this moment and made a difference. Here, Teilhard is in China and meets Lucille Swan. They both start enjoying each other's company. Dillard includes this anecdote to reveal the importance of companionship. Throughout the novel, Teilhard has just been the priest, pathologist, and geologist. The arrival of Lucille Swan allows the Jesuit priest to gain a new friend and companion. Although Jesuit priests are not allowed to get married, Teilhard was still able to make Lucille feel young and full of hope. Teilhard eventually leaves for another expedition and has to leave his new friend behind. This moment in time allowed the Jesuit priest to also feel young again. Dillard is highlighting the importance of living in the moment because you may never know what will happen tomorrow. Pierre Teilhard was a Jesuit priest, paleontologist, and geologist. While still carrying his belief in God, Teilhard was able to connect God and the universe. As mentioned before, Teilhard believes that God created all humans to aid in redemption. Essentially, he is stating that all humans are a vital part in the universe. This relates to Teilhard's belief that God is punctiform. Dillard uses a rhetorical question to share her own belief on the subject. She thinks that God is punctiform. Dillard answers her own question in this way to show her uncertainty. She doesn't fully agree or disagree with Teilhard's philosophy, but she brushes it off. With doing this, Teilhard's philosophy loses some strength and credibility because the author is not paying much attention to it.
Dillard presents the imagery and the motif of life and death to highlight our inability to escape from the grasp of death and to persuade the reader to seize the opportunities that give purpose and meaning in our lives. Dillard mentions how Confucius, when he understood that he would die soon, wept. Confucius, the great Chinese philosopher who without a doubt had considered the purpose of life, realized that death is imminent and that many of us have been pursuing the wrong things in life, wasting our potential in this world. The periodic sentence highlights how for many of us, our biggest regret before dying is what we have not done. Life is actually simple. However, we let societal standards and the fear of sticking out to make life complex and to hinder us from doing what we want or from reaching our fullest potential. Dillard illustrates how we must not be one of the many individuals who are just going to die, by telling the reader to simply take yourself in all your singularity, importance, complexity, and love, and multiply by 1,198,500,000. See, nothing to it. She utilizes the latotes to point out the misconception of being insignificant in life, since many came before us and since we are going to die anyways. Instead, we must acknowledge how each of us is unique in his or her own way and how every individual is an important piece in the world with plenty to offer. A significant moment is when Dillard tells of how the emperor searched for immortality, running medical laboratories and sending a fleet of ships to the Pacific Islands. However, Emperor Qin failed to conquer death and was only able to make it seem like he had through the terracotta warriors. Therefore, since we are not given a second chance to live, we must make the most of our existence as death closes in, as opposed to only desiring to have more time to form meaningful experiences in life. Dillard uses the symbol of a baby as a reminder of the cycle of life. When we arrive in the world as a baby, our hands are clenched. However, when departing, our hands are open, having gained nothing from the world. Each baby is given a fresh start and chance to find or develop his or her purpose in life. However, we end up going after things that do not have a permanence on earth, especially when worldly possessions do not have a place after death. In that manner, we are simply chasing the wind. Dillard includes the symbol of the earth and dust to remind us of our origin and to foreshadow our outcome. Dillard notes how the soldiers of World War I faced the mud of Ypres or the countless deaths that surround them. Since we tend to only cherish the values of life only at the moment before death or at the face of death, the imagery of soldiers dying encourages the reader to make life count, realizing that time is limited and that from dust we all are formed and to dust we all will return. All in all, due to the inevitability of death and the gift of life, we must grow as individuals by not letting any opportunities pass by that prove to make a difference in the world or to have an impact even after death. Ultimately, Dillard urges the reader to find his or her purpose in life, whether it is through the knowledge of history or the beliefs of redemption in religion. Consequently, instead of wasting our lives in pursuit of insignificant or even non-existent possessions, such as an immortality elixir, we are able to accept the fate of death and live a meaningful experience on earth in the meantime.